my rave babies out there. I'm your host, Neon Nightstorm, and welcome to episode 2 of Sincerely Rave Mom. Last week's episode was all about drug interactions, and if you're thinking about partaking in favors at events, there's information you should know to stay safe, healthy, and alive. So definitely go check that out if you haven't already. This week, I have Gay Bass Queen as my guest to talk about the first letter in PLUR, P for peace. Along with talking about what peace means, we'll also be talking about mushrooms and how shroom trips can be genuinely healing if taken correctly. Also, how important it is to set intentions for every one of your trips. Plus, we give some tips if you end up in a bad trip. While we don't specifically mention acid as much, it's incredibly important to set intentions with all of your acid trips as well. So anything we say about shroom trips basically apply to acid trips. Plus, we talk about some really good before and after care tips if you're planning on taking Molly or MDMA. And after all that, we talk about how Courtney found peace and healing from a really damaging elite gymnastics career through raving. I want to issue a quick trigger warning for that part as we do talk about self-harm, drug issues and abuse, and some more upsetting topics. But we also talk about healing from that and some other self-care things, so I really encourage sticking around for the whole thing. I truly had such an amazing conversation with them, and I'm so grateful to call them a friend of mine now. It was such a good conversation, in fact, that it was over 2 hours long, so I had to edit quite a bit. I did my best to keep all the most important bits and pieces, though, to help you on your rave journey. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and give Sincerely Rave Mom a follow on TikTok or Instagram if you want to support the podcast in any way. Plus, you can receive notifications for every time I post so you can stay updated on future episodes. Other than that, I don't really have much to say, so enjoy the second episode.
Welcome to the second episode of Sincerely Rave Mom. Today we have Courtney August, or Gay Bass Queen, with us. So today we're going to be talking about the first letter in PLUR, peace. So we're first going to start, though, with just some get to know you questions, because for those who really want to get to know Miss Courtney here, we're going to find out all about her. So I got some get to know you questions prepped first. So first, the name and pronouns.
So my name is Courtney August on social media, and my pronouns are she, they. I personally conceptualize myself as a they, as a person. I'm just a human being, but I also am very comfortable with she. I'm, proud to also identify, myself as a woman. So I'm
So you don't have a preference?
No, I don't have a preference.
Okay, cool.
I love, I feel very comfortable with when people say they, but I also am comfortable with she. So
Okay. I asked that because a couple of my friends that I have, they actually have told me that they always say like she, they, but they personally prefer they, but it's always easier for people because they look so much like a she. So do you have like a preference of like you'd rather be called they just because that's what you personally relate to more?
I would say so. Yeah, I would love to be called they.
All right, then let's everyone know let's put that out there. Like, no, that's why I wanted to ask that. Like, I put these pronouns for a reason. I've had a couple of my friends be like, yeah, people just always say she. So I just am like, yeah, she's fine. But like, I prefer they. So I was like, that's out there. Remember, they like to be called they. And I'm going to feel free to correct me, by the way, because sometimes the ADHD be thriving, but I want you to feel comfortable. So I'm going to make sure I go by say they. And I'll even try to see if I can edit something into it in the beginning, because I know that I said she at first. So
Well, I'm also comfortable with she. Like, I think just the even the effort and even you asking, means a lot. And I'm really appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And I think just, just making the effort and trying. And I know it takes a lot of practice for me, just kind of in everyday life when I'm referring to people, I'll just practice using they. Like, a lot of the times gender doesn't actually matter to like what you're saying.
Honestly.
So
All right. So how old are you?
I am 24.
Oh, why did I think you were younger? We're the same age. Yeah, wait. I should probably put this in these questions, but like, when's your birthday? If you
August
want to
20,
say.
yeah, August 27th. I'm a
So wait,
Virgo.
you're a
That's
Virgo.
why that's why I go by Courtney August. That's like my little
That makes, you know what? That makes so much sense. Oh my goodness. All right. I was born in July, so I am a Leo. So that's why I'm like, we're actually like really close together because I'm turning 25 this year. I feel slightly old. All right. So when and what was the first event you attended? Did it change your life, or was it another show or life event that made raving become more prominent in your day-to-day life?
So I had been to some like sort of smaller festivals, like local, little teeny tiny local festivals, but like it wasn't really EDM and it wasn't very PLUR or anything like that. So my first big like EDM event was Excision in June of 2021.
We love Excision.
Yeah, I went with my my ex-boyfriend actually. So before raving, I like identified as straight. I thought that I was straight for the most part, and then actually at my first rave, I was like, oh, I have things to think about. I now I identify as pansexual, so
Okay.
I I'm attracted or interested in people like based on their energy. I like gender doesn't really, you know, doesn't really play an effect
Yeah.
in attraction to people. I definitely have like my preferences and things like that. And
Everyone
um
does. Wait, so you said that your ex-boyfriend was the person who took you to first event. So does that mean
yeah.
he's your like rave dad technically?
Um
Or do you
n-
consider someone else your like rave mom, rave
n-
dad?
yeah, no. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've ever really had like a rave dad. I mean, he didn't
Or
really.
rave mom, like do you
Yeah,
consider anybody that?
I do have a rave mom. It's actually my best friend Tori. I shortly after I went to my first two raves with my ex-boyfriend, and then we broke up for like a lot of reasons. But and then my friend Tori, she was already into raving before I was, and she had some other friends that she like wanted to get into raving, and I knew her from work, and where I was working at my old job in Arizona, and she started inviting me to festivals, and she really like took me under her wing, especially when I was like getting out of this relationship. It was like
Yep,
my
that's a
first
rave mom.
trip, and
That's a rave
yeah,
mom.
yeah, me and introduced me to all of her friends, and she taught me about PLUR. She gave me my first candy, and I
Yes,
did
love it.
see her at my first show, even though I wasn't there with her. Like we met up and she gave me my first candy, which was like really, really special. Something though that like I do wish that I had talked to her more before the rave. Like she did help me a little bit with like what I was gonna wear, but I showed up to an Excision show in sandals. I was wearing sandals because I didn't know, like nobody told me, I didn't know what to
That
expect.
I love
Security
that. No, I find that
like you're gonna luckily like nobody touched my feet were completely fine, like my pedicure wasn't even chipped or anything, like everyone was so
love it.
respectful.
Beautiful. That's cool that you still have a rave mom. My rave mom and I were not in contact anymore. I wish her the best. I do wish her all the peace and the healing in the world because she's been through a lot and it's made her it's made her a different person than when I definitely first met her, or maybe I was just not aware of her red flags. But either way, I wish her the best. What is your favorite festival to attend?
Lost Lands, hands down.
Really?
Lost Lands, yeah, sign me up for life. I want to be buried there. But yeah, oh my gosh, between like the people and the environment, the dinosaurs and that music, like I am like
They
Excision was
go
my
hard
first.
on the sub. No, they go the
That's
last year with the lasers. They went. You were at Los Angeles last year?
that was my
We
first
weren't
year.
we weren't friends or like following each other at the time, but man, the lasers, Subtronics, y'all, if you haven't been to a Subtronics show yet, I'm telling you, he does not mess around with them lasers, and I'm pretty sure he goes a little bit harder every single time because he knows that that's what we want and we love it. So you
Yes,
kind of said it already, but you said you always have a sprout on you. What are your go-to rave accessories?
definitely googly eye ring is a must.
Love it.
The eye rings. Yeah, I usually go for a sprout. Recently, small business Intervisions, she made a few like little
That's super
classes for me.
cute.
Gave me this necklace that says gay base queen. So I
Love
always wear
that.
it. And
That's
of
super
course
cute.
accessorized with my candy. I have a few pieces that like I always wear that are like really special to me. Some of my closest friends gave them to me. So I just kind of I wear them on my keep
I love
wrist
that.
for wrist. So I just always have them, with me in my heart.
So does that mean
Um
you wear this
yeah.
kind of stuff outside of like you wear it every day too? Like I wear it to my job and stuff. Like this is literally like my students know me as like the girl with the cat ears and the fluffy earrings. I love that. I see you nodding. Yes, I love that.
Yes, yeah, I absolutely accessorize with candy, and I wear my page. I wear my page a lot. This is like my little safety blanket. I'll just accessorize an outfit with it, or I'll wear it down like this if I'm feeling a little fancy, you
I
know.
do. If I'm like really feeling anxious, it's just my go-to. Let me just put the patch hood on. Let me just forget everyone's around me. All right, let's get to the rest of these get to know you questions. There's only a few more. Oh, of course, I would scroll all the way up. Do you remember your first viral video?
My first viral video. Yes, like my first viral video on like rave TikTok. I was kind of doing like some social media stuff before I got into like rave social media. So I kind of had some other just kind of like random stuff, but my first rave related video that I had go viral was like a really kind of like silly 4-second video of me in this like reflective outfit out of rave, and like it was just it was a random video that I like found in my
That's
art.
always how it is. No,
Yeah,
that's always the ones you put literally
no,
absolutely no effort into.
yeah, and
110%. And it so sucks to say that because I put so much effort into like everything I do. So to have a video that I made in 5 minutes be like one of my most viral, it's like, really? Really?
yeah,
Really?
it was,
Really
it was
TikTok? Why
yeah,
is it like that?
like
I
turning
love
around.
it.
It's
No,
like that was, so it
I
was
love
very,
that.
yeah, but it also like it blew up on like some kind of international rave TikTok because I had like all different people of all different languages like commenting, and I'm like, I don't know what it means, but like thank you, I guess.
I love that. I remember I know the first video I saw of you was using this bubbles gun, and you flipped or something like that. I remember like seeing that video and I'm like, she looks really cool. And like I think I followed you on Instagram after that because as I was telling you a little bit earlier when we were talking, I've always loved gymnastics. So when I was like, oh yeah. So do you do any flow arts?
I do. So I have my Flow Star, which I'm obsessed with.
We love Flow Star. No, AJ is the freaking best. We love him and we love Flow Star.
got to meet him actually last weekend at Subtronics for the first time. I flew out to Arizona to go to
I
that show.
think he's going to Base Canyon, so I think I'm gonna meet him, which is really funny because last year we definitely stood right next to each other, but had no idea who each other were. So yeah, I went to the Sunflower Raver meetup, and he was like, I think they did the spin flow star right next to it. Now that I'm like putting things together because there's a bunch of flow stars, and I was like, oh, I really want to do that one day. And I just met like Filthy Slaw that day, and she was like, oh yeah, that's like flow star. There's the people, and then like 6 months later, AJ hits me up, sends me his flow star, and I'm like, wait a second. And like everything came full circle.
Yes, yeah, I love my Flow Star.
That
I've got my
fidget.
I've become addicted to it. I got my mom into Flow Star. I gave my mom one of my Flow Stars. She loves it. We were like flowing back and forth the other
That's
day.
awesome. I wish I could get my mom to do stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I brought her to
I
Rave.
love my mom. I love her to death, but
Yeah,
that's just not her style. That's not her
I
thing.
my mom actually came with me one of the days to EDC last year, and I brought her
That's
to Forbidden.
awesome.
Yeah, she's like a deadhead. When she was my age, she would go around the country following the Grateful Dead, like on tour, going to festivals and stuff like that. And when I was really young, they would bring me to like shows that put like, earwax in my ears, like to, make sure that my hearing didn't get
Oh,
damaged.
wow, that's
I
cool.
remember like being on my dad's shoulders at like these Grateful Dead concerts, and I feel like it's kind of come full circle now with raving, and festivals and everything like that. I think it kind of like
Really
brings
cool.
like home.
All right. So what are your dream events and festivals outside of the US?
Outside of the US. I think that's a good question. Definitely Tomorrowland is something that has always sort of been on my radar, even way before I was into raving. Like when I was maybe 12 or 13, I'd be watching the Tomorrowland after videos being like, that looks so incredible. Like I want to go do that. Look at all that stuff.
Really?
And I still think that would be something that's really awesome. But I'm gonna be honest, I am a little bit not like fearful of the rave scene outside of the US, but I know that the like kind of PLUR culture and everything like that isn't as common, or like isn't really
Yeah.
like it's not really a thing over there, or some people kind of over there look
Yeah.
down at a lot of people who are really kind, and I've spoken to people outside of the US who are like really look up to like the culture here in the PLUR, and they want to bring that back home with them, which I think is really awesome. But so much of the draw for me to festivals is like the kindness, the people, the culture, and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like the music as well. Like,
Honestly. It's just I definitely agree. There's as someone who's also had a viral video hit outside of the US, there have been some nasty fucking comments that I've gotten from people, especially in Europe, which we still love you. We love you over there. We love the EDM scene over there. This is no shade at that at all. I just, yeah, it's just a different culture. It's literally a different thing, and it doesn't make me not want to go. It's just kind of like, oh, it's that feeling of like, oh, I hope that if I like wear what I want, like, I think it's just I don't know, it's complicated just because like I said, I've gotten my fair share of comments saying like this is what the scene is like, and there's been a lot, so I definitely can see that. And I want to go to Paradise Blue. That's always been one of mine. All right, favorite EDM artists. Who are your favorite people?
Grizz is probably definitely has to take one. Yeah, his music and art like changed my life in so many ways and was like the soundtrack to like my healing journey and to just so many great memories in my life and everything like that. The first time that I ever went to the rail was during a Grizz set. I was actually in his top 0.01% of Spotify listeners last year.
I love that. Honestly, that was me with Nazar for a couple years, not gonna lie. But then he like didn't release as much music last year, so I listened to a lot of Corpse instead. But
Yeah.
I was in a rage bitch mode last year. Okay, so your favorite and least favorite EDM genres, like, do you have any that you do like any stages you kind of stay away from, or in one of the ones that you are running to, like you are sprinting when you get in that festival? Like for me, bass. If I hear bass, I'm like, yes, radar, let's go.
Yeah, I usually am camping out at the bass stage as well. Like I love like heavy bass dubstep. I love rhythm. I love like the wonkies of womps. I want to jump in the pit. I want to get to the rail. I want to break my neck, you know. But I also am now expanding myself to like other genres and stuff like that. I think especially when I first got into the scene, and up until like recently, I would have a little bit of a mental block towards some of the other genres just because I would feel like, based on sort of biases that I have in my brain, I would feel like I wouldn't be like subconsciously as safe at that other stage, especially since I rave alone the majority of the time.
No, I feel that. That's how I can't go to hardstyle stages. I cannot.
Hardstyle. I love,
you know,
I
get anxiety from it. You know, maybe somebody, I want, you know, when people see this, I need people in the comments to let me know if I'm the only one who struggles with this, because for some reason I seem to be in this very select few that this happens to. So I do not hate hardstyle. Hardstyle is amazing. Y'all be getting down. But for me personally, if I am at a hardstyle stage for longer than 15 seconds, or if a hardstyle song is playing for longer than 15 seconds, I'll look at my Fitbit and suddenly my BPM's at 140, 150. And I'm like, oh, no wonder I can't fucking breathe right now. I go into panic attack. I've had to literally have friends completely surround me and hold me because I can't breathe. Like, no, it's insane. So like, let me know in the comments if other people struggle with this, because y'all be getting to hardstyle, but I have to avoid them like the plague, basically, because I will just be sent into a panic attack. Like, and I go to most festivals sober, so that, I mean, okay, I smoke my silly little weed, but like, it sucks because I don't know. I just let me know if anyone else struggles with that. So the bias though, I definitely feel that because that was me with house. I had to start shuffling to learn to like house.
Yeah, so for me, I think I had this kind of like correlation in my brain between like frat boys and house music, and I couldn't really get past that. And I'm a very like
How did that correlation come about for you? Wait, I'm actually really curious. How did that correlation come about for you? Because I never had that.
Really? Okay, so that was,
when I thought house music, I always think clubs, like going into town and you're going to a club and you hear boots and cats. Like that's what I think of. But like, where'd the frat boys come from? Like I want to know.
I don't know if it was like maybe in college, a lot of the like frat boys, they were very kind of into house music, and I think when I went to,
did they hire house DJs?
What was that?
Did they just hire a lot of house DJs?
Yeah, the U of A
that makes sense.
They did have some pretty cool like DJs. I wasn't involved in like Greek life or anything like that. Like I went to a frat like maybe 5 times total. Like,
the Greek life, that scares me. Any of y'all who do it,
yeah.
I give y'all so much props, because anytime I hear about the Greek life, I'm like, good luck. Yep, have fun, have a great time. Not the life for me, but that's funny. I wonder if anyone else has that correlation. All right, so a couple more questions before we get into a bit of some other stuff that is a little more personalized questions about Courtney here. So the second to last one I'm gonna ask is, what is your favorite and least favorite part about being a content creator?
Okay, before I answer this question, I want to go back to the house thing just for a second, because I don't want to offend any house heads or anything like that. And I have been I've been working really hard to kind of like overcome these biases that I had.
And I can tell that that's amazing. I can hear that. Like it's always personal bias. Like for me, there's nothing against hardstyle, but man, does it give me anxiety.
Yeah. And I being around music, and like the more you listen to it and the more you kind of like get used to like the environment and stuff like that, like the more you'll start to like feel at home. But a lot of it was kind of like fear and judgment based for me at first. Once I was able to kind of like get past that and like open myself up to like all genres, I feel like I felt a lot more sort of united within the whole EDM community, and like I felt like I could relate to more people.
Yeah,
And
honestly, I definitely feel that.
we should definitely be trying like as a community to not like polarize ourselves, being like, oh, bass heads versus house heads or anything like that. Like I think we should all as a community like work to like respect each other's music tastes. Something that I actually got called out for like last year. I made a silly little TikTok, as you know, sort of poking fun at like people who are like a little bit pretentious about their music taste versus people who listen to mainstream EDM. And it wasn't like I wasn't trying to
No,
alienate
people
anybody.
get really spicy
I
when
was
it comes to music stuff. They get spicy. Like
yeah,
I definitely no, I
yeah,
feel that. When for anyone who does think that it's okay to have preferences. So here's the thing. Like I said, I personally can't listen to hardstyle. It is 100% okay to have preferences. I do not like drum and bass. I'm sorry. I know that might, but here's the thing. I appreciate drum and bass for what it is. When I see people going off to drum and bass, I'm like, yeah, you go, Glen Coca, you go. Like personally, not my vibe, but like it's okay to have preferences. It's just as long as you're not hating on them and saying like this,
yeah,
like, oh, I hate when someone says like this music sucks. Like, okay, in your opinion, and your opinion does not matter in this case. So
exactly.
as long as you're just being respectful about it, and I can tell that you definitely are. And I think that, sometimes music tickles our brain and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. And also sometimes it really grows on you. I noticed when I was first getting into the EDM community, I was like, oh, I only like these artists. And I would kind of be like, oh, like why would I wouldn't say this, but I was kind of in the back of my head, like, oh, like how do you like that? And
Oh, I did that too. Definitely. Like
all
when
of
I
the
first
that
started,
I was like, how do I like that? I ended up liking it. Like within 6 months, I was like, this is my new favorite
yeah,
thing. So,
that was me with house. I'll put myself on the, chopping board right now. Back when like 3, 4 years ago, before I started shuffling, I used to be that person that like hated on house. And I apologize to any of you that I may have said something to in the past. I deeply apologize because the way that shuffling has brought out not only a whole community for me, but also like a huge deep, just so much deeper into the rave scene. So it's like, man, if only like 3 years ago, Kelly would have figured out a little bit sooner instead of being a little hating
it's
piece of crap. Yeah. So now we're gonna get to the more personalized questions here. So for anybody who watches their content, they did gymnastics growing up, and we will get into more into that. And for anyone listening, there will be a little bit more of triggering content. We're gonna be kind of getting into some topics about self-harm and just some more deep stuff like that. And we're talking about drugs, and if you do partake at festivals, how you can help yourself. One of the main reasons I made this podcast was because I wanted to help people to, if you're going to rave, how to rave responsibly, and that's why I'm calling myself a rave mom. So the first question is, because going back to, I said this a little in the beginning, my episode with them here is about peace, and I'm going to be doing an episode for each letter of PLUR. So this is the first one for peace. So what does the word peace mean to you just in day-to-day life? Like outside of raving, what does peace mean to you in your day-to-day life?
Peace definitely is both internal and external to me. And I think in order to have external peace, it's important to start with internal peace. So for me, that means releasing judgment of myself and of others, and really working to sort of heal a lot of my internalized wounds, a lot of the trauma from my past, and like take care of myself and find self-love and do things that bring me inner peace, and prioritize protecting my energy and setting boundaries and taking
Setting
care of.
boundaries. That's the one. No, right there. That is like the key to peace, in my opinion, is setting fucking boundaries.
Yeah,
So now how do you think peace correlates to the rave scene?
I think peace is really, really important in the rave scene because we have so many different people from different backgrounds and people with different beliefs, different life experiences, and we're all coming together to share a common space, not only in the venues, but also like online and rave social media and stuff like that. We're kind of sharing a common space conceptually. And I think in order for us to be able to connect through the music, we have to have peace with each other. And I believe that like really that self-judgment and judgment of others is like the same side of the coin. If you're judging yourself for something, then you're going to have those judgments.
100%.
So if you can work to release any internalized judgments and insecurities and things that are triggering to you, like when you see other people doing whatever it is they're doing, whatever it is that doesn't align with like who you are, being able to be like, I am at peace with that in myself, so I am at peace with you and your journey, and being able to basically like put our differences aside and just connect through the vibrations of the music and share space peacefully, and even work to heal each other and heal our world and community by just being a place where people can come together peacefully and not have to worry about, oh, I believe in this, I believe in this. Like we can all set that at the door, leave that at the door, and come here and be peaceful and good vibes, you know?
That's really true. Honestly, I tell my students all the time, because obviously bullying is a thing in elementary school and I work with elementary schoolers. So one of the main things I always tell them is that hurt people hurt people. So if someone's like making fun of your hair, I guarantee they're mad about their hair that day. And some of their and I just tell them they're insecure about themselves, and watching the gears start turning and then them coming up to me and being like, yeah, they made fun of my shirt today. I think they didn't like their outfit.
Yep.
And I was like, did you say that though? And they're like, no, I didn't say that. I just walked away. And I was like, okay, good.
Or it's like, for example, like triggering an insecurity. Maybe one time they wore something that they really loved and they were ridiculed for it. And now they have this insecurity. They see somebody else doing that. It triggers that in them and they become upset and they like have this judgment, but they don't really understand that it's like their own wound that's being triggered.
Honestly, judgment comes from, I truly believe judgment comes from either lack of understanding or lack of knowledge. And if you're not willing to understand and you're not willing to build your knowledge, then your pride is too big and you need to learn to set your pride at the door. So
is like the answer is like, instead of you can have, your brain might make a judgment because that's what it's wired to do, but you don't have to believe it. You can have that judgment and then look at it and be like, why am I having, what in my life has led me to this belief or hold this whatever, like why? Like
I know that my religion growing up was my reason. I grew up very Mormon, very religious, and a lot of the rules and regulations in that definitely always felt like off to me. So as I grew up, it very much like made sense of like, why do I not like these rules? So I'm not obviously that anymore, but I know that a lot of some of my like really deep thing, like, I don't know, my deepest insecurities come from that. And sometimes you just have to actively fight it. I don't know where I read this once, but I was told that when you see something you don't like and your first instinct is, oh, I hate it. But then you tell yourself, oh, wait, no, I don't. The first one is your instinct. The second one is how you truly feel. So
yeah, the first one is like what you've been taught.
Yep. That's a better word. Yeah. The way you've been taught.
Yeah.
So, all right. What type of EDM do you listen to for that like peaceful feeling? Is there a specific artist? I know you mentioned Grizz before. So is that like who you listen to for when you're like, you need peace and you need to like zen out?
Honestly, it really depends on my mood because music is so powerful. And I feel like peace comes in a lot of different forms. Like when we think peace, we automatically think about like, like holding hands, cross leg, like making little flower crowns or like something like that. But like you can be peaceful in a mosh pit. You know what I mean?
No, literally.
Inside, like I just want to hear some dirty ass rhythm. You know what I mean?
The zen that I feel headbanging sometimes, like I'm literally maybe just a little tipsy, or even sober. Like I will fall asleep on an airplane to bass, blasting Nazar and Subtronics. I'll wake up and all I hear is bass again. I'm like, oh, did I fall asleep? So no, that's a good point. Personally, I listen to melodic dubstep. If I'm trying to really feel like at peace, give me some Millennium. Give me some cry bangers. That's what I call it. So
us as people, humans are so dynamic. Like we have ups and downs, just like every like waves, like the moon cycles, like seasons, like everybody goes like this.
As of recording, we're in Mercury in retrograde right now, and currently she is kicking my ass. So
go with the flow. Like if you're feeling like you want to listen to like sometimes I'll listen to meditation music, like, or I'll listen to like LS Dream Light Code, versus sometimes I'll listen to Emorphic and sudden death. Like it's just whatever is going to balance me out in that moment. Like I need to listen to my body, listen to my emotions in order to like find peace, because peace doesn't look like just one thing, you know, it means whatever brings you internal comfort, you know.
So my next question is, how do you think we as content creators, this is for any content creator who's watching, who's making TikToks, making Instagrams, I sound so old when I said that, making like Instagram reels, there we go, that's a better term for it, or just making anything in terms of putting out content into the rave scene, how can we make it a better place? Like what are specific things we can do online to make it a better place?
I think that not only content creators, but anybody who engages with rave social media, I
No,
think,
that's true, that's the engagers too, that's people who are
yeah,
commenting.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's up to us to set an example, really, and really embody the things that we want to see within the community. That was kind of a big switch for me in my mindset and in my like content creation, is like, what do I wish was in the community? Like, what do I wish I had was first getting into it? Like, what is like something that I wish was being said in the rave community? And like, I'm gonna do that. And I think also just being so kind and showing that we can have kind and peaceful interactions, and that we can heal, and really like representing the community in a way that is going to bring people in for the things that we value, if that makes sense. So if we're representing the community as a place where we get messed up and we don't test our drugs and we're irresponsible and we're not, then we're going to attract people into the scene for those reasons. But if
there's been way too many deaths lately. It's been it doesn't sit right with me how many people have been getting sent home and how many people have been in hospitals. Oh my god, it eats me alive.
Epidemic right now too is really, really bad. So but if we are leading by example and saying, I test my substances if I choose to engage with them, I go, or I have a DD, I don't pick up ground scores, like
facts. No, literally, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and being like, I was kind, I am kind, I like just embody all of these things, then like people are content creators are called influencers for a reason, like not only in a capitalist.
I don't like that.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people don't like the word, but if you really think about it, like it's not only like influencing people to like buy stuff, which is what I think a lot of people conceptualize it as.
That's
also
facts.
The attitude. If you are going to a rave and like kind of just engaging with the surface level things, and you're not really kind of, you know, about the community or anything like that, then like that is kind of what you're going to encourage with people. And so if you really, really love it and you are showing your genuine self and speaking up about it and being like, this is why I love the community, this is why it's important to me, like in a very real way, then you're going to attract people to the community for those reasons. And we're going to continue to create a safe space and bring people in for the community and for the love and for the peace versus for the things that are like potentially dangerous and harmful.
Yeah, I think what you said is really great. It's like, because especially with TikTok, I think TikTok has brought a very large group of people to the EDM scene lately, and that's amazing. We love it. We love your presence. But I think unfortunately some content creators are inspiring some bad habits. So the kind of actually a perfect segue into this next question. So I will answer these two, so you're not just the only one answering it when you say it. So do you partake in favors at events? Which one? If so, which ones?
I do sometimes. When I first started raving, I wasn't going to as many shows, but I was doing like substances pretty much like at every show. So personally, I have a little smoky, like we were talking a little bit earlier.
Oh yeah, we love that. We love a good blunt in the crowd. Yeah, one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast is because we can say all this, by the way, on YouTube. I'm not going for monetization, so I'm gonna say weed if I want to say weed, and we're gonna say cocaine and ketamine and all this other. Like, if y'all aren't ready to hear some like real terms be thrown at you, like you are not ready for this podcast. Like, I am here to say all these. I do not care about monetization, so I won't get yeeted from YouTube because, yeah. So this podcast is to help people. And so personally, I used to roll quite a bit. So I definitely know how to help people in terms of that. I just smoke weed now. Okay, wait, sometimes I drink though, but man, those White Claws are so expensive.
So weed is the best. We love weed. I don't drink. I used to drink. I drank through college. I drank for about 6 years of my life. And last December, I just stopped altogether. I kind of really big realization that it is quite literally poison. Like that's what it is.
It always makes me sick. I think I'm allergic. 100%. I think I'm allergic. Like every time I drink, I get sick. And I'm probably gonna edit this out, but maybe I won't. I literally went to my best friend Piper's birthday last night. I had one drink. I had this bartender make me one drink, and I was up at 3 a.m. puking.
No,
I think I'm allergic to alcohol at this point. Like I have to be. There's no other way. Like every time I drink, I end up puking. I'm like, nope. So unless it's a seltzer, seltzers don't. I drank like 4 Trulies on the way to AT Aliens a couple weeks ago, and I was like, because I literally went to TikTok and I was like, how can I not get sick? So I like paced. I did everything, but I don't know. It must be something going to bars. Like I just gotta stick to seltzers and those alone.
Yeah. So the other big one is I love Shroomies. They have changed my life. Like I have been an incredible healing journey. I actually shroom more often outside of shows. Like it's kind of rare. Like sometimes I'll take them out.
I want to get more into that. Not gonna lie, it's been last time I tripped was shrooms, and I want to do it again.
Yes, huge advocate for shroomies. I believe that they can be like.
What's the best way you think? Like, do you think, because there's multiple ways, people don't know, there's multiple ways to take shrooms. There's like shroom teas. I had a company send me a chocolate bar that had, it was super cool. I was like, how, and I don't know how to get it again, but it was like the last time I tripped on shrooms and the only time. And there's like, I know there's shroom teas, there's shrooms, and then like, what else is there? Like, isn't there shroom powders too that you can put in?
I've put them in. For me, I love the taste, so I just eat them straight up. I'm like, nom, 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 nom.
Really? Yeah. Oh, I did that at Base Candy and I almost puked.
Really? I love the taste.
I was like, he told me it tastes like sunflower seeds.
But I've seen people put them in smoothies. My friend likes to soak them in lemon juice. When I bring them to shows, I rip them up and I put them into little capsules so that I can just like take a little capsule. And I pretty much
the capsule I feel like might be the way to go for me.
Yeah. I always microdose, and I like to do kind of like a delayed, like wait until I feel it and then decide if I want to take any more. Like I just like to have just a little extra.
Microdosing is the way to go, by the way, for people watching. You should not be going balls to the walls when you go to a festival. If you think that, personally, I've done this, so I get it. I truly get it. But coming from some people who have done this a while, microdose and go slow, because it will not hit as hard. You will not get as much anxiety. So if you're going to be tripping, whether it's on acid or shrooms, you should be microdosing and working your way up. You should not just be going, let me take 3 tabs. Let me just take a handful of shrooms, which, like, I know we've all done it, but at the same time, it's like you're putting yourself in danger. And if you're wanting to make festivals a big part of your life, you should definitely be taking care of your body. So now, speaking of that, so what are some things you can do before to help prep your mind and your body for taking in drugs? So for you have a good amount of knowledge about shrooms, obviously. So let's stick with that one.
Okay. I do want to touch on Molly, because I know it is so prevalent.
No, we definitely can. I'm definitely down to talk about that, because that's what I'm more knowledgeable about too. So I was gonna actually go into it afterwards. So let's do shrooms first, and then we can talk about Molly.
Okay, cool. So for shroomies, I feel like it is so important to eat good, natural. I prefer vegetarian. I am now a vegetarian. Shrooms were a very big influence in me becoming a vegetarian. But I find that anytime I would eat meat before I would shroom, I would always throw it up. I don't know if that's a personal thing. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience, but anytime I eat like good fruit and vegetables and natural foods and stuff like that, like at least the day of, if not several days before, and get good sleep and kind of like mentally prepare, like this is like, it is a journey. It's called a trip for a reason. Like you are going on a journey, and with mushrooms, your brain becomes like very malleable. So there's a lot of kind of research right now with shrooms and healing things like PTSD, anxiety, and OCD. It is being researched very heavily. It was being researched.
Man, maybe I really do need to go on another trip soon.
Because
I've been going through it. I'm kind of prepping for this podcast. I'm going through it. So like I could definitely.
I think.
Duly noted about the meat thing, by the way, because last time I took shrooms, I got nauseous, and I'm pretty sure that I ate meat beforehand. So I'm gonna take that into note and like be like, I'm gonna just stick to like fruits and veggies. So like when you say natural foods, does that mean like beans and rice are okay and that kind of stuff, or do you mean just like fruits and vegetables
that literally like come from the earth? You know what I mean? Just things that.
Beans. Okay, cool. Because I was like, are beans okay? That's a good protein, because that's what I'm trying to think is how to get your protein in.
Yeah, avocado is great. Quinoa, like I eat a lot of what are those those little like kidney beans. They have a few names. Garbanzo beans. Those are great.
Chickpeas are good too.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing. I think they have like a
I'm
bunch of names, but
actually, yeah, you know what? You are probably right about that. I'm pretty sure garbanzo beans and chickpeas are the same exact thing, but if not,
yeah,
someone correct
I
us.
think they're very, they have a lot of names. But
yeah,
I think
a lot of things do.
with like tripping and especially with shrooms, I have this experience with acid too, but setting an intention is so, so, so important. If you have the intention of just, if you are taking the shrooms or the whatever it is with the intention of getting fucked up and being like just seeing crazy shit, then that's the experience that you're going to have. But if you can set the intention to have a healing experience or work on something, like for me, I will be like, I would like to work on my internalized shame. That's something that is going to be the theme of this trip. It's something that I want to kind of like reflect on. It doesn't mean that I have to focus on it the whole time, but I'm kind of having this intention of healing something. Or if I'm going to a show and I know that I'm going to be seeing like a certain artist, like Ella Stream or something like that, then I'll kind of think about what's his message and how can like this experience and having this experience while I'm in this altered state of mind with my brain being more open and malleable, like how can that help me in my healing journey? What can I learn? What kind of like beautiful experience can I have from this versus being like, I just want to see all the things go woo woo woo.
No, I love that.
Like,
That's honestly, I don't think I've ever had someone actually put that to me that way before. My brain, as I don't, you can probably see in the camera footage later when I'm watching, but just me being like,
the
gear. Yeah, no, literally. So a lot of my friends were really into acid, and unfortunately, and I kind of talked to you about this earlier, a lot of my friends in the beginning of my like 2-3 years of raving were the people that were there just to get fucked up. And it was, I always loved the music. Like I was listening to bass music walking to work every single day. Like I had my moments, trust me, like where I was definitely influenced. I definitely was. So hearing all this is like, wow, I actually like didn't know you should be doing all that. Like I remember last year on my trip, I like set the intention of like, I just want to like be free for 12 hours. And then like, that's where I was. And I literally watched the entire first season of Stranger Things and it did not give me anxiety. It actually was really fucking cool. It was even killer.
I was really lucky. My rave mom had a lot of experiences with psychedelics and was really there to sort of walk me through it. And also, I know we talked about, Molly a little bit and we want to touch on that, but like there's not a lot of information out there about like how often you should be doing, how much you should be doing.
Exactly.
But one who was like, hey, like you can split up your points like into like fourths or whatever. So now that's what I microdose. And like
actually, I didn't even know you could do. See, I didn't even know you could do that. Now we can kind of more transfer into Molly because I feel like, I don't want to say unfortunately, it's more just a reality that Molly is definitely way more prominent. Like when you're looking around at the Raver Festival, most people are probably going to be on that. So for all the people listening who are going to be doing that, what do we tell them in terms of before you take Molly? My biggest thing is always eat 1 hour beforehand. Do not eat any later because you will puke it up, but try to eat an hour and a half to an hour before, and you are way less likely to get nauseous and way less likely to get sick.
Yeah, I think that's definitely good advice. Like eating beforehand for sure.
People don't want to do that. They want to be like, oh, let me just like not eat. I'll feel it more. No. For any of you watching, no, that is not what we're doing. No, I'm making direct eye contact with the camera right now. No, just don't do it. It's just gonna make you sick. I'm telling you right now, whoever's listening, it's just going to make you sick. You will get just as messed up if you eat beforehand. Thank you. I've had so many people tell me like, oh, I didn't eat because I wanted to get like more fucked up. And I'm like, you don't get more fucked up. You literally just get sick.
Yeah, we need taking care of our bodies and everything like that. And feel it, like you're gonna feel the consequences so much more afterwards if you take during the experience. So for me, before, I always make sure that I split mine up. And I usually with Molly, like when I first started raving, like when I went to my first festival, I like walked into the door and popped a point. I was like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like that.
That's how a lot of people do it.
Out and like I have my fourth and I want to be, say it's a day that, so for me, I pick 3 times a year to roll. This is not how I did not do this last year.
That's me literally. I'm thinking maybe I'll roll one day this year. Maybe. I'm thinking about it.
have started doing a lot of research into MDMA, and while it's not like something that is commonly like fatal or anything like that, like it is something that it does have a long-term effect if you abuse it. It does have a lot of potential to be an amazing, mind-opening, wonderful enhancer to your experiences and stuff like that. But if you are abusing it and using it regularly, then it is going to catch up with you. Like it is going to catch up with you. It is permanently alter your brain chemistry and crash your serotonin levels. It's going to lead to more feelings of anxiety and depression in the long term. But if you do things like, you're supposed to wait 3 months in between, because that is how long it
is that the timeline? I thought it was 6 months.
It takes I've heard 3 months. I think the longer the better, for sure. But
I think anywhere between that, for anyone listening, between that is a good time. 3 to 6 months is a good time to wait. You shouldn't be and hey, it's okay, guys. This is coming from somebody who used to roll like every couple weeks with my friends, thinking it was all cool. And then I'm kind of grateful that one thing COVID taught me was don't do that.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was the waking up after.
And for like, I don't know, for me, I would feel it like 2 weeks later, there'd just be this heaviness in my brain, and I'm like, what is that? Like, why do I feel
that's actually probably what I felt too, now that I'm thinking about it. That's like, that probably happened to me too, but I just didn't like have time to process it because I was doing it so much. Like 21-year-old Kelly was like, yeah, let's go. No.
Yeah. So definitely pick your times. Not only will it lose its magic, but like it'll lose effectiveness, but it's also a very addictive substance. Like it is highly addictive. It is like little crystal magic. You know what I mean? But
that's accurate.
It comes with a price. So that for me, like when I started getting into like mushrooms, because I started with like my first rave, I rolled my first few things. Like it wasn't until about 6 months into raving that I started getting into psychedelics, and I actually started experimenting with psychedelics outside of raves before I brought it into the rave scene, because I knew that I had a lot of shit that I needed to work through, and I knew that like the psychedelics were going to kind of make me face that stuff. So I wanted to kind of do a lot of that in a safe space outside of raving before I was ready to like bring that into the rave scene, because to me psychedelics are like very much a tool for self-healing and for connecting with the universe, connecting with people, connecting with like the earth, with everything. And
that's the mindset you should have if you're doing this stuff. That's the mindset you should have. You shouldn't, especially when it comes to, I think, shrooms and acid. You really should not be taking these substances trying to get fucked up. Like that's really just not what they're meant for. And if that's what you're doing, you're never going to have like a really good trip. At least not definitely ones you've had. And I would say even the one I had last year, it was the first time I ever tripped alone, and I was literally by myself. And like I said, I watched Stranger Things, and I healed some self-hatred in myself that night. Like I don't even remember why. Like I just remember I was very not feeling the world at the time, and I just needed a little something. So if that's not the mindset you have, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So especially with Molly. Sorry.
For sure. No, I completely agree. And I think that you have to like, you should be 100% like committed and ready and mentally prepared. Like you shouldn't be like, I don't know if I want to do it, and then take it.
If you have that thought at all, don't do it.
Don't do it. Like if you're questioning it at all, if this is like maybe going to be an uncomfortable environment, that's the other thing. Environment is so important. It will have such a huge impact on any
that means the people in your environment. And I know that like that's the biggest thing for me is because I'm autistic. So I want to try tripping at a festival again, but I'm autistic, so I'm super like my senses get overloaded so quick. Like I had to leave Base Canyon early one day because like I went back to camp at like 10 p.m. because I was just so overstimulated. So I want to get more into it, but I'm just afraid of like the people being around me. So for anyone who's kind of in the same boat, I'm very sensitive to people. So how can you kind of help yourself if you want to trip at a festival and you like are really sensitive to people and their energies? Because we're talking about environments, right? And people is a huge part of that environment, to be honest.
Yeah. That's a great question. So I think for me, like sticking to micros makes everything so much more manageable just as a start. And as somebody who raves by myself for the most part, I do usually have, like, just from being in the scene and stuff like that, I usually like know a good amount of people at every show that I go to, just because, like, I like to, that's my thing. Like, I'm there to meet people, to enjoy the music, but like I want to meet people. I want to like just bounce around and everything like that. For me, like when I am tripping and I am feeling some type of way about somebody's energy or whatever it is, like I'll just move. I will literally just walk around until I find somewhere where I feel good. One time for me, like when I was at EDC, I was on shrooms and I was starting to feel like really uneasy all of a sudden. Like I just kind of slipped into the state of like, oh my gosh, like I got all this anxiety, and I literally, like, this is at EDC Orlando, I climbed into a bush. I found a tree and I climbed like behind a bush, and I just like touched the grass and I touched the tree, and like nobody could see me, and I just like took deep breaths.
Yes, we love grounding techniques.
Yeah,
That was grounding, right? That's what you're
and
doing.
bushes,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm ready to go. Like,
Yep.
let's
That's grounding. So for those who don't know what that is, it's when you are tripping and you feel like everything is too much, you basically spot the things you can see, the things you can feel. For me, I'm very sensory, so it's the feel. So I will close my eyes and I'll be like, this is what my skin feels like, this is what my shirt feels like. Some people it's sight. Like I remember seeing a video you were talking about, you spot things, you look around for the rainbow.
The rainbow, yeah. So that's something that I do, like, not only when I'm tripping, but just in everyday life, because I get very overstimulated like pretty easily, and I disassociate. Like I'll find myself when I'm like somewhere else, and I'm like, hey, like come back to the present. Like it's okay to be here right now. Like, be here. So that is something that helps me like come back to reality and kind of like ground myself, is looking for the rainbow, I call it. I look, I'm like, okay, there's something red. I look for something orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then I
love that, honestly.
And it's fun, and then you get distracted and you're thinking
like a little
about,
I Spy for yourself.
yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, so I think definitely like grounding and knowing how to like self-soothe, and having little things to like little fidget toys, little things like, and being unapologetic for self-regulating. Like I am at the point now where I'm like, I don't, even when I'm completely sober, I'll be like, blah, 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 blah. If that's what I feel like I need to do, that's what I'm
feel
gonna
that.
do.
No, I do the same thing. I definitely feel that.
Good, then great. It's not hurting anybody else. You might think that I'm whacked out on drugs or whatever it is, but
that's not their business.
This is my piece. Yeah, this is just who I am, and I do apologize for making myself feel comfortable.
So let's say someone's microdosing, right? They're taking your advice, and so they accidentally overdo it, because it happens. So you guys know it happens. First of all, don't blame yourself if you accidentally overdo it at a festival. Do not blame yourself, because it happens, especially if you are microdosing and you don't know how to microdose yet. Be kind to yourself, first of all. So if you accidentally overdo it, okay, and you end up basically in a bad trip, what can you do? Like let's put this in at a festival. So let's say you're at a festival, you accidentally overdo it a little bit. What are the best coping mechanisms you can use?
I know for me and a lot of people, the little pashmina, going into your pashmina.
I can't with my headphones, but I want you to know, if I didn't have the headphones on, guys, it'd be on. That is my favorite.
It's like putting on horse blinders, kind of like you just are in you come
don't put goggles on, by the way, because people do that. Do not put goggles on if you are overstimulated. I know you see people putting the goggles on, but put the passion on without the goggles. That will overstimulate you even more.
Yeah, especially
glasses would help though. Like if you have sunglasses, that's what I've done. I put sunglasses on because it makes everything darker. So if you have sunglasses with the passion, it's perfect, because it makes everything darker.
I completely agree. Definitely sunglasses is a really good one. And everybody, like, if you can just kind of like try to experiment with different things and see what works for you, because everybody's kind of, and like, I know for me, like when I first started like tripping, or if I was rolling, the goggles would be way too much for me. But now, like, I love my goggles. And if I feel overstimulated by the crowd, I'll like find a place to sit down and put on my goggles, and
so that works for you?
I'll become. Oh,
I love that.
I feel like I am in the world with the set. Like, for example,
don't listen to me. Apparently that might work for you. It may not, but it may work for you.
I would say if you are somebody who uses the goggles a lot and you are used to what the goggles does for you, then it can be great. Because for me, like, I'll put them on, and for example, I was tripping really, really hard at Seven Lions one time. When I put on my goggles, I was in Seven Lions world. Nobody in the crowd around me existed. I was one. The only thing that I could see was Seven Lions, and I could feel it, and I was in my blanket, and I had my little stuffed animal. That's the other thing too. Stuffed animals are changer for anxiety and for like anything.
I love my stuffed animals. You can
Where
see actually some in my background in my like camera view, and I love it. Oh, I was so deliberate about everything. I was like, yeah, I get my little stuffies in the back. Say hi to Stitch, guys. He's right there. So, okay. So,
this is my little kitty.
oh,
This is my buddy.
also
Comes
wait, let's give a little peep to your background real quick because you just have more stuff on your back.
Oh
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. We love this background, by the way.
yeah. So I have like all my I don't know if you can really see it, but I have like all my little trinkets and things that I've like received from
I
raves and
love
some
that.
most sentimental candies and stuff like that.
I love
And
that.
are all up there. I do want to this is something really insane that somebody gave me at Subtronics, and I want to highlight it because
Ooh, we love a good caged cuff, honestly. It has a worm.
like
Oh no, honestly, I'm gonna end up doing that right now. I can't really decorate my room. My dad's been kind of like, don't decorate too much yet. So I will get to, but right now I'm like the minimal decoration. So going back to if you overdo it, right? So let's say it's not you who overdoes it, it's your friend. What can you do as a friend to help them the most? My biggest recommendation would be fanning. Bitches love a good fan, and they love the little head roll thing, the head thing. That's my biggest thing.
definitely, yeah. I think like doing whatever you can to help them be comfortable is really important. I know one time when I was like tripping too hard, I was at like a cold weather rave, and I straight up just kind of forgot about weather, and I was literally like shaking, and
That
my
happens.
like, hey baby, like, do you want to put on a jacket? I was like, that's what it is. It's cold. It's the weather. Like
Yep.
I'm like, thank you. Like
I've
you just
definitely had to have that before when I was tripping once. You just like sparked a memory in my head. I'm like, wait, I was sitting down an event and my friends were like, Kelly, do you need a jacket? I'm like, no, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I'm like, Kelly, you should wear a jacket. And then I put it on and they're like, and I realized I was shaking for the last 10 minutes.
yeah.
So it
I
happens
think
to all of us. It does. It really does. We just got to be careful.
yeah, I think making them feel comfortable, and also making them feel sane, especially if you're tripping. Like you might just like have random things come out of your brain, or you have weird thoughts and you might say them, or like just say trippy things or whatever it is. Just if you're experiencing somebody like saying some nonsense words, just be like, yeah, or just like
I've had to do that. The smile and nod.
don't make them feel crazy. Like that's just gonna like kind of trigger
Yeah.
a bad your brain. Just kind of like go with it, smile,
Yeah.
wave. Like you're doing
I will
great.
admit, so personally, I will admit that is always hard for me. So I'm autistic, right? So I don't mask anymore, and it's so hard to do that. I know when I'm looking at them, like be kind, be this, but it's like it's such a battle with my brain because I'm like struggling to talk to them. So even if you struggle, guys, still always make the active attempt to like, even if you have to mask a little, in my opinion, these people are on drugs. And if most of these people listening have been doing it, have done it themselves. And the last thing you would want when, I sometimes think about what I looked like when I was really deep in a role. Like when someone's looking at, like, that's what I always think. When someone's like trying to talk to me and they're struggling, I always think to myself, what would you have wanted in this moment when you were rolling really heavy? So I try to be like, okay, would I want to smile and nod? Would I want this? So just try to be kind. That's like that's really important. I think that is when it comes to being on a trip, anyone, because you're very sensitive to people. Like for me especially, oh my gosh, like eye contact is non-existent for me, by the way, when I'm tripping.
That's in a lot of ways, like psychedelics bring us back to like our childhood brain function. That's why they're such a great tool for healing, because they bring you back to that malleable state where you can make new connections and everything like that. That's why it's so important to be intentional with your healing, your environment and stuff like that. Because if you're in that state of mind and you're like find yourself in a bad situation, or you're in a place where like, like it's dangerous, or you're around bad people or whatever it is, like that can be extra scary when you're in that state. Like, make things extra magical and bring that like childhood euphoria back to your experiences and stuff like that. But it can, on the flip side, like you're back in this like very vulnerable state, so you definitely need to be careful with who you're around, what you're around, and energy and the things that you're hearing and saying and telling yourself when you're in that state, because you can really have a big impact on like your brain function. I know for me, like there's been so many times where I was able to heal something during a trip, and it like my life changed drastically after that because I was like in.
One of these days I'm gonna have one like that. It's gonna happen for me. Last question before we switch over to your gymnastics questions. We kind of talked about pashminas earlier, and I really want to ask this question because I want to see if you have an opinion on it. What do you think it is about pashminas that are just like that make them so peaceful? Like what do you think it is?
I think that it really,
I don't like scarves, but I love pashminas.
I think it really resonates to being like a child and having like your blankie, like having a safety blanket. Like
Ooh, that's a good one.
Raving to me is about like healing your inner child from like whether it's your
Oh,
binky
definitely. Oh
or
yeah. I mean the cat ears and the fluffy earrings. Oh yeah.
the toys, all of it. It's like healing your inner child and having
The
like
security blanket. No, that's a good point.
yeah,
I never thought about that. Because especially if you have like, so yours looks pretty thick too. Like mine's really thick. So it's like, if I'm cold, this is my warm. This is my blanket. So like, that's actually, how did I never put that together?
yeah,
All right.
yeah. Absolutely reminiscent of childhood memories for
Oh,
sure.
true. It's like, I've never really liked scarves, but man, do I love me a good pash. Is there anything else before we switch over actually to the gymnastics portion that you wanted to talk about? And you wanted to put out there in terms of if you're going to take shrooms, taking Molly, because this is not my only episode about this. Like the episode before this is a really, really big drug interaction deep dive. So is there anything else that you want to say and you want to talk about?
I think that I just would like to sort of put out there how much being responsible and taking care of yourself enhances the experience of raving, and that's nourishing yourself, learning to love yourself. For me, raving with for a big part of raving for me was learning to love myself again, and realizing that I am deserving of eating good food, drinking water, and being comfortable. So I think all of those things are really things that can like enhance the experience. So take care of yourself, be responsible, be kind, look out for other people. And when it comes to substances, start small. Just always start small. Always test your substances. That is a non-negotiable. There is a huge epidemic right now, and it's
don't worry, guys. You're gonna get an episode about that, and just 3 episodes,
yep.
2 episodes. Either way, you're gonna get an episode all about that. So
Never
trying to. Yeah, no, I knew when I made this podcast that was it. Like I wanted to have a creator and like where that's the entire episode basically is fentanyl and testing and stuff like that. So I've loved getting to know so much about like this tripping stuff because like I said, I definitely was not introduced by the right people, and if they're watching. One, I don't know why you're watching because we haven't been friends in years. But if you are, I wish you the best. I promise you, there's no hate to you. I wish you the absolute best. I wish I learned these things a little sooner. So, so for switching over, for anyone who doesn't know much about them, or I mean, I don't want to say that, I guess, who doesn't know that used to be a gymnast. So personally, I used to love watching gymnastics growing up. Make It or Break It on ABC Family was my favorite show. Now learning some of the things I've learned about it, I'm like, dang it, now I can't love it too much. But so I wanted to just talk to you about it because it's been a huge like gymnastics and raving has been a huge correlation for you and finding peace through raving. So that's why I wanted to talk about this because it just raving provided you peace from gymnastics. So when did you start gymnastics and why?
I started gymnastics when I was 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I did it for 19 years of my life. I was a gymnast.
And how do you do that stuff at 2 years old?
Right.
Like, what do you do at 2? Like, I work with kids and I'm like, man, I can barely get them kinders to do what I want half the time, and they're 6.
Yeah, I mean, I was the kid who was like, my mom's lap and just like yuck a backflip, when I'm like 2 years. Like when I was just way too young. Like I was just like always had so much energy and was kind of flipping around. And older sister did gymnastics, and when I saw her doing it, like I want to do that too. So both my sister and I did gymnastics through college, so like for our whole lives.
So was it a family thing? Did your mom do gymnastics, or did she like know that she wanted to put you in it?
She did it like a bit when she was younger. She didn't do it nearly as like intensely as my sister and I did, but I know she did do it like competitively a bit when she was younger.
I know you we're gonna talk about a little bit that you were at the elite level. Was your sister at the elite level then too?
I'm trying to remember. I think she may have, like, at kind of at earlier ages, she may have started, to do a little bit of that, but she mainly just stuck to club and college. Yeah.
So I guess this is, you kind of pick the age you want to do for this, like, because it's like, what is your schedule, and like lay out what an elite gymnast would look like. So what it like kind of, we pick the time frame you kind of want to do, and you would think would suit that question the best.
So I was an elite gymnast, like competing in at the elite level. It's kind of a different program than club gymnastics. It's different competitions.
So I know what that is, but for anybody who doesn't know what that is, you can train at a club, and then you can kind of give them more specifics of how you can get into elite level.
Mhm. Yeah, so the club gymnastics is like levels, I don't know, they might have changed it, but it's like 4 through 10 basically. And that, usually leads to college gymnastics, or, sometimes leads to college. And then elite level gymnastics is kind of a different program, sort of. I don't even really understand all of the ins and outs, and I know that it's changed a lot since I was.
It has changed a lot, especially the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, so I mean, and this was when I was probably from age 8 until like 14. I was an elite gymnast, so this is like about 10 years, over 10 years ago now for me. So it's been a while, but for the most part, my schedule would be, I would wake up pretty early in the morning, and I was homeschooled actually up until high school, because I was, homeschooled for gymnastics. I also
when you're elite, do you have to be homeschooled?
You don't have to be, but like
it's really time consuming. So yeah, that's what I've noticed, is that when you are elite level, it's just way less time consuming to have like not have to go to school. So
yeah, definitely. So yeah, I was, and also I had have, I guess, disaddicted dyslexia and ADHD. I was diagnosed from like a very young age, and it was like very obvious. So my mom,
I could tell when my students are dyslexic within a couple minutes. It's pretty easy to tell.
Yeah, so I was really lucky that my mom was like, she was like, all right, like, let's do this. Like, she was down to experiment with learning styles and everything like that, and she really
awesome.
did through homeschooling to kind of, help me get a good education, and like really work with me to be able to like develop the skills that I would need to go to college and to, high school and stuff like that.
Awesome. Go your mom. We love that.
Shout out my mom.
Yeah, no, literally I literally, like, when you said that, I instantly thought of a student right now that I have, that she's dyslexic, and her mom just won't get her to school early enough so she can get the help she needs. And so she's like, she can't read her math questions. She switches up her B's and D's constantly. And like when she said the answer was 46 when it was 94, it just made so much sense to me. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Yep. I was like, yep, that's when she said that, it's like, for me, I was like, oh girl.
Yeah, that was me constantly. But yeah, so I would do a little bit of homeschool in the morning, and then I would go to practice like before everybody else. There was like, maybe while I was at my first club gym where I was training as an elite gymnast, maybe 1 or 2 other girls who were kind of trying to do the elite program, but I was mainly like the only one at my club who was doing it. So I would show up like in the morning while everybody else was at school, and I would have my first practice, and then I would train for a few hours, just like one-on-one with me and the coach, or they would have like another coach from another gym come in and work with me, or like whatever it was. So I would do that, and then I would take a little break, eat a little snack, and then I would train with everybody else during normal practice hours.
A lot of training.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot. I mean, I was doing like 5 days a week, 30 hours a week from the time that I was.
Whole job. I gotta give it to you. Like, that is a whole job. Like, that's something I've always thought about gymnastics. I'm like, y'all are literally having careers at the age of 10.
Yes. Yep.
So what was your favorite apparatus?
PLUR, definitely PLUR. Yeah, I think like it kind of changed while I was a gymnast. Like, there were different times where I would, like kind of like something a little bit more than something else, but definitely in the grand scheme of things, PLUR was definitely my favorite, because I got to like have the music and I could dance.
Oh, floor routines are awesome. I love watching floor routines.
A little bit of personality, you know what I mean? That was always my favorite, was when I got to like put a little bit of fun in my routine.
I loved watching floor routines. That and watching people on bars was always like, how do y'all do it? So did you ever have plans, because you were in elite level, did you ever have plans to go to the Olympics, or was college always the plan?
So yeah, I was definitely somebody who was like hoping to go, maybe not necessarily to the Olympics, but to compete at that level, to go to worlds, to go on international assignments, and just be like an elite gymnast. Obviously, like it's kind of every young athlete's dream to go to the Olympics.
Right.
But like I was never like I have to go to like it wasn't like a
Yeah, it
huge
wasn't the
goal of mine.
yeah.
Yeah, I stopped doing the elite level around like the age of 14 or so, and that's when I sort of started focusing in on college. That was like when I was 14 is actually when I committed to go to the University of Arizona, when I like started, really getting into like the
Wow,
college.
that's like freshman level. That's crazy. Like you already
So,
committed to a college when you're
yeah,
14. Dude,
and
14-year-old
that's
Kelly could never.
yeah, it's not allowed anymore. You're not allowed to be recruited before your junior year. It changed
Okay.
like the year after I graduated high school was when they made that change. So they can't like be recruiting like eighth graders anymore, because that's something that they were doing, which is like
That's
you
insane.
don't know anything about your future when you're in eighth
I
grade.
was like, dude, how are you supposed to know
Like,
anything? Like when I was 14, I wanted to be a fucking lawyer. Do I
yeah,
look like a lawyer to you? No. That's
yeah,
insane.
yeah. A lot
So
can happen that like before you get to college, from the time that you're in high school.
that's kind of a random question, but I didn't know where else to put it, so I just put it here. I so there's a fashion with gymnastics, like the leotards you guys have. They're beautiful. Do you think that has had inspiration at all to your rave wear and what you like to wear raving wise?
I definitely think it had an impact on it. And I'm somebody who I have always, always, always loved fashion. The two things that I wanted to be when I grew up were a film director and a fashion designer.
I love
But
that.
um I got like kind of put off of the industries because like I would watch movies and things like that, and I'd hear things and I'm like, oh my god, everybody seems so mean. Like in the fact I watched The Devil Wears Prada when I was younger, and I was like, I can't be a fashion designer. Like,
No,
yeah.
honestly, that movie I feel like is ingrained into most people our age's mind. That is an amazing movie, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. With the leotards and stuff like that, like having all of the sparkles and everything. I actually designed one of the Leos for the University of Arizona my senior year. I
That's
designed a
awesome.
leotard, which is really cool. Yeah.
That's super cool.
Have it be brought to life and have our team wearing it on our senior night and everything like that was really, really cool. But I think like being like growing up in a leotard, definitely like when I transitioned into rave wear, like I was immediately very comfortable wearing
Yeah.
like because that's just what I grew up
Yeah,
in.
exactly.
And I think I was able to have a good appreciation for like I was already very familiar with different like materials and like what's comfortable versus like what's not. And being able to like actually embrace like the creativity of it and enjoy it and make the outfit what I want it to be, and also being able to feel sort of like have some sort of sexual agency in my own rave
Yeah,
wear versus
honestly.
that was something that was extremely controlled. We were extremely sexualized from a very young age, in a lot of ways, which was
Yeah,
very
that is something I've noticed
we
about
were never
gymnastics.
own that. It was always other people would be like harassing us and we would get shamed for it. It was really messed up in a lot of ways. But being able to like wear something that is considered revealing and like own it and not be like, oh, like, don't like you're not
Yeah,
allowed like don't be like that, or
that's
I'm not
we love that about the rave scene.
allowed
People in their
to.
pasties, yes, we love you.
Yeah.
So, kind of going into the body stuff. So, what have you had any body issues because of gymnastics? They're really like, I know that unfortunately that kind of stuff runs pretty rampant in the gymnastics scene.
Yeah, for sure. And I think in so many ways, too, that normally like you wouldn't even think about. And there's a lot of things that I didn't even realize or continue to realize about the relationship that I had with my body, throughout gymnastics, and also like the relationship that I saw like my teammates having with their bodies and stuff like that too is also, like can be pretty scary. For me, I think like the injuries and like training through injuries is so glorified within the sport that I started to see my body as my enemy. It would break down on me and
Gosh.
I would get really angry at my body. I would see it as like I'm like I wish I could just have a machine go in and fix it. Like I did not care like what happened to me as long as I could still do gymnastics. Like that was like all that I really saw my body as being for. And I had like lots of surgeries. I had 3 shoulder surgeries and a tibia surgery. I had 5 concussions. I had countless broken bones and like just so many injuries.
Y'all
And
gymnasts are next level. Like,
it
no,
was
I've always known about this kind of stuff too. Like I said, I grew up watching gymnastics, and it's something that I always knew. And I was like, I don't know how these girls do it. Like, I don't know how anybody in gymnastics does it, because like literally right now I have a compression ankle sock on because I hurt myself dancing yesterday, and it's like with what you said about like seeing your body kind of as a machine a little bit, like kind of felt that for a second. I was like, oh, Kelly, you need to chill on the dancing. Your body is not just meant to dance. Your body is meant to do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And you should not, because I was thinking to myself, oh, maybe I could like shuffle again today. Nope. You just
Mhm.
no, you just inspired me to tell myself no. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad I had this conversation, because I've been struggling with that myself with dancing. It's like I want my body to do more, but it's like, Kelly, you didn't grow up dancing. You started dancing 2 years ago. So I think all of us kind of can be really unkind to ourselves, especially when our body's not working with us physically.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is like, what's the worst injury you had in gymnastics?
The most, okay, so there were a few really, really bad ones.
Yes, this sounded like it.
Yeah, so for kind of like breaks and stuff like that, my shoulders were something that was kind of plagued me throughout like my college career. And the end of high school, I got 3 shoulder surgeries like my junior year going into college. So I actually had to retire one of my events before. I couldn't do bars anymore by the time I got to college, which that was actually one of my best events. So it was like a bit of a bummer, but yeah, so that those were something that, and I actually re-injured my my labor, my toward all the way through again my junior year of college. So I do have like a current shoulder injury, but it like I didn't want to get surgery on it again because every shoulder surgery gets like less effective, and I just didn't want to traumatize it more. I'm like, I'm just gonna heal it and take care of myself and be careful on it. But besides that, I had a really bad tibia break that I had to have surgery on when I was 14. Or maybe I was 13 at the time. I don't remember. It was like around 13, 14. And then I had a really, really bad concussion. It was my 5th concussion. And it was actually inflicted by my coach. He was mad at me for something, and he like threw me on my head.
Oh yeah, my next questions are about your coaches, by the way. So yeah. I was gonna issue just real quick. Trigger warning. We're gonna be talking about some pretty heavy stuff coming up here. Like my next couple questions. They've talked to me when we were talking about the questions about they want to talk about kind of their coaches, and I don't really know much going into this, but we're gonna find out together. So for those, I'll always sign up before, but let's kind of actually just get into that after your injury. So like if you want to continue talking about your injury real quick, you can, but then afterwards we can kind of use this as a good way to segue into your coach.
Yeah, this is a good transition for sure. But with that concussion, that was like the kind of like the last straw at like the current club that I was training at. I actually like it was like a very really rough
up. I didn't know they did stuff like that. Like that like the chill that went up my spine when you said that.
It was
oh my
really
gosh. Was that common? Was that a common thing? It's like in gymnastics community, is that common?
Like everything like this. There's just so much. There was just so much.
That's insane. I literally spent like, that's insane. I did not know that. I did not know that they were physically abusive. I know I've been aware that they are very mentally abusive and psychologically, emotionally, but yeah, I thought legal wise, like legal issues. Literally, I'm like legal issues. Like what?
Yeah, so that's about like club gymnastics that is always kind of weird. It's like it's not through a school, it's not through anything that really can be held accountable. It's just kind of like
in any club. Look at like
be a coach or like a license or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we watch Dance Moms.
Yeah, no, it's
like I guess that when you said that, I was like, you know what, that makes sense. It's just like a dance studio, and that oh my god.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like skating and dance and gymnastics all, but yeah, with that
too, yeah.
With that concussion, I ended up in the hospital. Like I had memory damage, like I had brain damage. It was really, really, really scary.
I'm glad you're okay now. All these concussions. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the doctors weren't really sure when it first happened. I could only really remember 5 minutes at a time, and I kept forgetting. I thought it was a whole year earlier. I had forgotten the whole year. I didn't know where I was. Like I didn't know how old I was. And I had also broken my toe right before I had gotten that concussion.
I've done that. I have done that, and that hurts.
my toe hurt. Like I couldn't remember what had
Wait,
happened.
you like trained through breaking your toe?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this was out of meet. I broke my toe on beam and they buddy taped it and I went to floor and I was warming up on floor and my coach threw me on my head because I had told him something. So we weren't supposed to tell our parents what they said to us at practice and I was fed up and I told my mom something really fucked up that he had said to me and he found out that I told my mom and so he was pissed at me. He was fuming, but they told my coach, you can't confront her about it until after the meet. So the whole meet, he was just fuming at me and so angry. And so when he went to spot me, he just like dumped me right on my head and I was out. They literally grabbed my arm and my leg and they pulled me off of the floor. And I was just sitting there like, this is what I've been told. I don't remember any of this, but I was just sitting there like completely, I didn't know what was going on or anything. And eventually after about an hour, like my mom, they was able to get to me and be like, what's going on? Like we need to take her to the hospital. And my coaches were like, she doesn't need to go to the hospital. Like she's fine. Like I didn't know anything. Like I was just forgetting everything every 5 minutes. And so yeah, my experience was waking up in a hospital room and asking like, where am I? What happened to me? What happened to my toe? Like what is going on? And the doctor saying, we can't tell you, we're not going to tell you that right now because every time we tell you, your blood pressure goes up and you get really scared. So we're just relax, just, you know, you're okay. Like, don't worry about it right now. And I'm like, no, but this time, like, I can remember. And they're like, well, that's what you say every time. And I was like, oh, awesome. Really? That's horrifying. Like, that is so scary. And the doctors were telling me like, don't go back to gymnastics. Like you shouldn't go back. Like they, you know, like separated me from my mom and they were like, are you being forced to do this? And I'm like, no, I'm going back. Like you can't stop me. Like I'm going to keep
The
going.
love of gymnastics ran deep.
It was, yeah, I wouldn't call
Do you
it
think
a
it was
love.
kind of like your identity actually? It was one of your love is more of like your identity. That makes sense. If it felt like your identity, that makes sense.
Very culty as well. It's very like a lot of kind of brainwashing sort of things going on. Yeah, it's with the parents, with the coaches, with
that makes sense because I know with a lot. Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of kind of like controlling and yeah.
Speaking of all this, so with your coaches, so I guess this is such like a open-ended question, but I'm kind of asking. You can kind of dissect how you want, but in the grand majority, what were your coaches like to you?
So I think something important to note about them too is my two main coaches for the majority of my club career were extreme alcoholics and they were also addicted to drugs and would be fucked up at practice and on trips and stuff like that. They would be going and trying to buy drugs and do all this crazy shit.
They were able to have like a whole thing.
Yeah, even after one of my ankle surgery that I was telling you about when I was 14, my coach stole my Vicodin from me because she was addicted to painkillers. Yeah. Like it was really like so they were just a complete mess. But they were abusive, emotionally, physically, like one of my sparkles fell off.
Mood.
But just as like a little example, like one time I kept missing a skill and I got kicked out of practice, which that's not uncommon, right? Like, you know, get out of here, you're not good enough, leave. And I'm like, okay. So I went and I sat out in the lobby and this is like in the middle of winter. I grew up in Connecticut, so you know, snow and stuff. And I was sitting in the lobby with the parents. My ride, I did a lot of carpooling. We lived like an hour from our gym, so we carpooled a lot. My ride was there, so I had to for, you know, my ride to come. And my coach came out in the lobby and was like, what the fuck are you doing in here? And I was like, you told me to get out. And he was like, you don't deserve to be warm, go sit outside. And I was like, oh shit, okay. So I had to go like sit in the snow until one of the moms was like, you can come sit in my car, like it's okay. Like, but like being told as a 12-year-old, like you don't deserve to be warm because I was missing a skill, like that, it was just that kind of stuff like constantly. And being told,
oh my God,
being told that I was like stupid. That was what my coach used to call me, stupid old dumb old Courtney. That was his cute little nickname for me.
I wouldn't say that's cute. I would say that's demeaning. I would never nickname one of my students that. Mine usually are along lines of gremlins because they're acting like little gremlins, or that's usually the ones I think I use. But oh my God, that's not. I can't imagine like. That breaks my heart. Like literally as someone who works with kids, that absolutely breaks my heart. Because like I work from the ages of like 6 to 10 or 11, whatever 5th grade is. And I can't imagine like it literally breaks my heart that you had to deal with that. Like So is that a norm in the gymnastics scene? Is that like, is that common that that's kind of treatment that girls have to, or not girls, all, because all
Yeah.
genders go to gymnastics,
Yeah.
but is that common?
I know it was when I was like a gymnast. Again, this was like about a decade ago. I'm really hoping that the gymnastics scene has made progress since then,
Me too,
but
especially in the last couple of years.
definitely that was very common, especially within like higher level gyms and stuff like that. And when you're at the higher levels, like a lot of the coaches are just like really should not be working with children. And yeah.
So did
Yeah.
you have any safe space in your club in terms like of any coaches or any of like the parents? Like, did you have a safe space in the club at all?
um I would say like having my teammates, because we were all kind of like trauma bonded, like we were all kind of in it
Makes
together. I
sense.
was close with a lot of my teammates. We were kind of like sisters. So I think that definitely like made things like,
Um,
tolerable,
I
and like
yeah.
having my teammates and stuff like that. There were some kind of parents in the club that, you would feel like a little bit more comfortable with, but like there wasn't really like a safe space, honestly. Like it
That breaks my heart, honestly. So speaking of teammates, so I know the dynamic between girls in gymnastics can be so complicated because not only are you competing as a team, especially when you're in elite level,
Mhm.
you're competing against each other. Did you have like any friendships that you were able to really like that have really lasted or that really helped, or was it hard?
um yeah, so I am still friends, like kind of like loosely still kind of, in contact. I would consider like, there are some friends that I have
Like
from,
think high
back in.
school, like for me, people I went to high school with, like I'm friends with
Yeah,
them on certain stuff. Yeah.
also really hard because like a lot of us now are like trying to work through and heal
Yeah.
from the period when we were
Yeah.
friends. So a lot of friendships can be very triggering, and a
Yeah.
lot of it's really hard. Like not a lot of people actually get out of the gymnastics mindset. They stop, but they keep that mindset, and they still like, believe everything that they
Sure.
were
That's yeah.
told, and they buy into this environment, into this like whole thing, and they think of, oh, gymnastics, those were the best days. Those are my glory days. That was the best days of my life or whatever. And like
Is a part
um
of you. I think
yeah,
that's important to
yeah.
kind of compartmentalize and be like, it's a part of you. I really appreciate you talking about all this stuff, by the way. I know it must be really hard because to think that this was like a lot of your childhood that, like I said, I work with kids and my students are, I guess I also call my little beans. I call some of the girls like Miss Girl, or like, that's one of my favorite ones. Or Girly Pop. I'm like, Miss
Yeah.
Girly Pop. Like, I can't, it just breaks my heart. Like, I can't, like right now I'm working with second and third graders, but I was working with fourth and fifth graders. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, that just hurts my soul. It hurts my soul. So, okay. So jumping from you didn't really have any, so you didn't have any like teammates you could really vent to, or did you have any therapy or anything to help deal with the trauma that you were going through?
At the time, no. The closest thing that we had to like psychology or anything like that, we would work with like a psychologist to help us with like gymnastics mental blocks. Like that was kind of like the only thing that was acceptable. Like in no way did anybody like stop to really think at the time like
There should
that
be a
would have
psychologist or
been
something.
or anything. Like
Wow,
I
that's
didn't even
beautiful.
really realize that until I was out of, or like when I was kind of like in college and getting out of college, being like, wait, that was really kind of fucked up. Like I didn't
Yeah.
know. I realized like
Yeah.
that was just like my life.
It was
And
your normal.
I did seek some therapy in college, but again, like a lot of that while I was a gymnast was to help me with my gymnastics. Like that was the goal of the therapy. Like I was talking about like my relationship with my body earlier, like everything that I did was for gymnastics. When I ate food, it was because I needed to fuel my body for practice. It was like
Yeah.
literally that I did
Yeah.
was about gymnastics, was for gymnastics.
Yeah, dual identity. That makes
Yeah,
unfortunately a lot of elite girls end up
yeah.
having that, and it's sad. Like I now knowing that this is also like a standard practice of coaching, it breaks my heart. So you said it was okay to talk about this. When did you start using self-harm as a coping mechanism?
I believe the first time that I self-harmed or attempted to self-harm, I was probably about 10 years old.
Okay.
I was really young.
I was very similar age. I think I was like 11 or 12.
Yeah, which is
So
so Like that
So
is
young.
so
No, like literally now thinking back, that is so young. Like
it,
it's such a norm. It's such a normal too with people our age. Like you find out that when they started self-harming, it was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And it's just insane. It's literally
yeah.
insane to me. So
It's something
oh, here.
that like I sort of experienced while I was in the kind of elite world for myself. That was a really harsh environment. And then when I started to like kind of through high school, things got so much better with my mental health. And when I was outside of elite, things got better. But then when I got back into college is when things got like the worst, like worse than they
Really?
had been. Yeah, college
Yeah.
gymnastics was
I was gonna
like
segue. So
my
that's kind of segueing into what we were talking about next is into your college career, actually. So because I wanted to start with your elite and then get into your college.
Mhm.
So what coping mechanisms do you have now? Because it sounds like you are clean now. I'm clean as well. What are some coping mechanisms? Yeah, I was like, I don't even have the years anymore. I stopped counting after
Yeah.
5. I was like, nope. Or I think it's like 4 now, but I did not even put much thought into it. It's just years at this point, and I'm proud of that. What are some coping mechanisms that you can offer people that are struggling possibly with self-harm right now?
For me, I found like journaling and meditation flow
Yes, I
is
love me some journaling and with my rainbow pens and all. Oh, yes, love
yeah,
journaling.
absolutely. Yeah. And meditation. I'm huge on meditation. I meditate a lot.
I can't
And
meditate. I get my ADHD thrives too hard. I can't. I
that is
I've
under
tried.
just
I do breathing techniques. I just
yeah,
breathe in and out.
yeah. I think it can mean a lot of things. And honestly, like when I have actually found myself like the time that I'm able to completely clear my mind and actually find like what you've heard of like feeling like you're enlightened or you're in some other like
Yeah.
magic, that's when I'm tripping. If I meditate while I'm
Yeah.
tripping, which I will actively do a guided meditation, and I will
That's a
like
good idea, honestly,
I
especially
will
when you're
find
tripping.
like I have had such incredible experiences. Be careful because it can be very, 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 very intense.
I just breathe, honestly. I just breathe in and out.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
okay, now switching then to your college career. Man, I wasn't expecting that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm like kind of shook right now. I'm like, oh man, I actually thought it would you because I've heard a lot of stories about how gymnasts switching from elite to college actually helped their bodies and stuff. So obviously it was different for you. Like what was the big difference?
so in like kind of elite and club gymnastics, there's a really big, pretty much everything you're doing is individual. Like, yes, there are kind of team awards and stuff like that, but like for the most part, like you are there competing as an individual. Like it is an individual sport at that
Okay.
level. Go to college, then it becomes a team sport, and the individual doesn't really matter anymore. Like that's kind
Okay.
of that the side note. Like there aren't individual
Oh, I didn't know
awards.
that actually. I didn't know that.
And they'll do like
I guess it
they'll do
makes sense though.
stuff. But yeah, so it's a team sport, and there's 6 spots up on each event. And there's about like 15 to 20 girls on the team, so you're kind of competing for to be in the top 6, and it's every single weekend. Whereas in club and elite, you might compete once a month or every other month, but in college gymnastics, you're going for 3 months straight, every single weekend with no breaks, and you have to be perfect. College gymnastics isn't about big skills or anything like that. Like it is about being completely consistent. You have to be perfect and on every single time, or you're going to let down your entire team. You're going to get kicked out of the lineup, and you're going to have to like climb your way back into it. And it is so much pressure. And also we're now competing on TV in front of people every single weekend, and we're in these leotards, and we are now becoming women. We're 18, 19, 20, 21 in leotards,
Actually. Wow.
and we have all these people now being like, oh well, these are adult women in leotards, so now we're being so heavily sexualized, not only by the people in the audience but also the other athletes, and like just so many people just coming at you from literally every angle, and everybody's looking at your body, has something to say. I was getting messages on social media about how my ass looks in a leotard when I'm just trying to focus and do my best routine out there, and
That's
yeah,
awful. I did not know
yeah,
that was an issue. This is
yeah.
like
It's
mind-boggling
a,
to me. I really, because it's crazy. I literally thought that girls would get an escape from gymnastics by going to college level. So to hear that that's actually genuinely not the case, that breaks my heart even more. So you've been out of gymnastics for 3 years now. I think that's when I was doing the research for this. Yes. Okay.
yeah.
I'm so glad.
It's
I did so much research for this and my brain has become kind of like goo, but I was like, I'm pretty sure that was right. So you've been out of gymnastics for 3 years now. What has been the biggest lesson in your healing journey? Like, are you in therapy now? Do you just microdose? Like, what has been the healing for you? And obviously, I will get into the raving part after this, but for outside of raving.
So I think the biggest lesson with healing about healing itself is that healing is not linear. It is not a straight line. It isn't always up. Not every day is going to be better than the next. Like it happens out of order, and you just kind of have to take it day by day. And it is okay to have good days. It's okay to have bad days. Whatever it is, like it's okay. You don't have to put pressure on yourself and there's also no finish line. There is no finish line with healing. It is just
we're all always healing, and we're all always growing.
Yeah, but for sure microdosing last year, for about 4 months straight, I microdosed once a week with Shroomies. Like every Saturday I would just at my house, you know, I would walk around, I would float, I would journal, I meditate, I'll play with my little stuffed animals, just heal my inner child. Like
that. That's beautiful. I'm starting to really think maybe I should be doing that, because I know I got some unhealed trauma.
Yeah, it absolutely.
What has been, so I'm trying to think of the timeline now. So you said your first rave was 2 years ago, and so it was after gymnastics. What is it about raving that was like the main healing source for you?
I think a really big connection that I made between the two is movement, which is very, very present, obviously, in both of them. With
that's true. That's a good point. You're definitely moving a lot. Like I'm a base gremlin. Like if you see me in the crowd, I promise if there's flying green hair, it's probably me.
It's you, yeah.
I harder I can headbang better. Like I break my body. I have to take naps during festivals. I think like I held my neck as a neck brace for like 5 minutes at Base Canyon last year. Like that makes sense actually, that it's like because I grew up doing sports a lot too, and I did taekwondo and basketball and volleyball and stuff. So I've always loved moving my body, even after I gained weight and stuff and then lost it. But that makes a lot of sense. So okay, so do you remember the first moment being at a rave or a festival, whatever one it was, and you just kind of knew this is where you're meant to be for the rest of your life? Like this is what all this pain, all this trauma, everything that's happened, this is what it's like meant to be.
I think I really had that moment at EDC Orlando last year. That was I think I mentioned this earlier.
When was EDC Orlando for timeline purposes?
So yeah, it was kind of about a little over a year into I held on to a lot of trauma. Another thing, okay, so another side note about college gymnastics is they have pretty much complete control over your life. Like you are not really allowed to be a person outside. I know that they're now trying to change things, but when I was a gymnast in college, they had control over our social media. We were not allowed to go out. Like that was very much against the rules. We were not allowed to drink. I got in trouble for drinking in college, and it was like really like it was a really big deal. Like I got suspended and like on TV publicly shamed for like partaking. I shotgunned a beer. There was a video of me of shotgunning a beer that got sent to my coach, and I got in a lot of fucking trouble. And so I had a lot.
Oh my god.
Having fun and going out, like I always felt like I had to hide it and that it was a secret. So when I got into rave,
that. Oh, I definitely feel that with growing up Mormon. Oh, I feel that so hard.
Like I'm doing
that hit. When you said that, I was like, I'm afraid. To this day, I still struggle with that. Like having anybody see me on anything, it's like crippling to me, because I'm like, but it's just because of I grew up Mormon for almost 15 years. That's
so ingrained in you. But yeah, like having just sort of like, I don't know, I really had to work to heal through that. And I think like after it had been, I don't know, over a year that I was in the rave scene, and I was like, this is really awesome. Like I was already like really, really into it, and I was going to a lot of raves, but I finally had this moment where I was like, I now understand like that, like my life has been leading me here. Like everything is really like coming into place. It's when I started to really realize like my place in this community and my place in.
I love that.
Yeah, and
I love that it was at EDC too. I want to go to EDC Orlando.
It was so magical. The things that I can contribute to like this community, and the things that I've learned through my lifetime, and how they can help heal other people and help relate to other people. Like I've experienced so many things, so that I have the ability to connect with other people who have experienced things and like understand where they're coming from and be able to sympathize with them. And I've learned so many lessons throughout my experience, and now
empathize.
To like give back to this community that I love so much. And that all really kind of started falling into place for me around EDC Orlando. And I was like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like this here. Like I've been this time in my life, like this is when I get to enjoy like this. I was in the cocoon and now I'm a butterfly kind of
Yep,
moment.
definitely me a base canyon a couple
Yeah.
years ago. So last question. I have loved talking to you, by the way. This has been so amazing. I've learned a lot today, actually. My brain is like, wow, I'm gonna be editing this and like relearning information because I disassociate too. So last question. What parts of raving have been the main source of healing for you? To help give a sense to this question, I know it can be really big and open-ended. Raving was the start to my healing and my weight loss journey 6 years ago. Like if I did not start raving, I never would have gotten the courage to move away and then start losing weight and then come back and start doing content basically and decide to be a producer. And for those who are autistic, and I was undiagnosed at the time, obviously, I was able to drop my mask. Like I didn't know it at the time, but like that's what it really was, I think, was being able to drop my mask for the first time, like headbanging in front of somebody for the first time. It is a sense of release that you just don't understand. Like if you have not gotten the courage to headbang in front of people, one day it'll happen and you'll feel free.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I can definitely identify with that bit of like dropping your mask and being able to finally be seen. I remember having this huge crumbling moment of like feeling my masks, because I would have many. I was like a people pleaser as a survival technique That's what I had to do on my side to protect me.
The boundaries thing comes into play again. People pleasers setting boundaries. That makes sense of why it's been a huge like thing for both of us. Because people pleasers, once you set boundaries, I'm telling you, your life gets so much more peaceful. It's so much better.
I had to realize like I am safe now, and like having these masks is no longer serving me. It's suffocating.
Yep, literally me. I feel that.
I now will only accept people who see me for me. If you knew me with my mask on, like you don't, like I am here now.
I feel that so hard. Oh my gosh.
Life. But I think definitely like feeling the acceptance and the love of the community was a huge triggering.
You can just be whoever you want to be. You can really just be whoever you want, and people will just love you and accept you. Like you can literally be whoever you want. Dress up however you want, and people are gonna be like, yeah,
fuck yeah,
yes. Like you can you can be a furry, you can be whoever you want, and people will look at you and they'll probably want to take a picture with you. Like I love it so much.
Unconditional love is so healing. And like I was at a point where like I did not have love for myself. I did not think that I was deserving of love or of nourishment.
I feel that.
And having these people who like don't even know me show me so much kindness and love and acceptance, like it completely shifted my entire perspective and opened my heart and my mind up to so much healing. And also I do want to note that I do really see my like raving as the beginning for me. I
love that.
I had a near-death experience the night of my first rave, the big like after Excision. I was almost like pinned by a car when I was walking home. I had to literally pull me and my ex like out from underneath, like basically like it was coming, and it was very very scary and traumatizing. And I like after that my whole life kind of crumbled. My life as I knew it like completely crumbled apart. Like everything in my life felt like it was just completely falling apart. I lost I lost this relationship. I started questioning my sexuality. I moved across the country. I quit my job. Like everything just after the few months after just kind of like completely crumbled. And at the time I was just like, why is my life falling apart? But now I understand, like picture
it fell
like
apart to come together.
Picture an egg with a little baby chick inside, right? Like the shell crumble for the chick to come out.
I definitely feel that.
Like sometimes like when things are crumbling, like you have to just let go of the pieces because something new is emerging.
Literally me losing my nose hoop the other day, my favorite nose hoop. I lost it shuffling at work. Like I literally was doing musical hoops with my students, and my students were like, oh, Miss Kelly, your nose hoop fell out. And then when I got back home, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take all my jewelry out. It's like I changed all of it. So like I truly believe that sometimes things really unfortunately have to fall apart in order to come together.
No, I completely. And I think and now like 2 years later, I'm finally starting to understand why all of that stuff. I'm like starting to see, like, I'm so thankful for all of that stuff that was like my worst nightmare at the time. I'm like, I'm so glad that I was able to release all that stuff from my life to make room for me to become this person. And it doesn't all make sense as it's happening. It's usually in retrospect back and you're like, okay, it all makes
definitely.
sense.
I know that
But
this is gonna be me
like,
with this retrograde. I'm gonna be like, yeah, because it sucked, but I'm gonna be looking back like, oh, maybe it was like actually good. It makes me so happy though that raving really has been such a huge healing experience for you, and it has been for so many people. And it's what like bugs me so much when anybody just wants to make it about drugs, because it's like not.
Mhm.
It's literally that is such a small piece of
Yeah.
what my raving journey and what a lot of people's journey has been. Is there anything else, just last anything that you want to say before I end the recording?
Yeah. I would love to just thank you for doing this. I know I've gotten a small sense of how much you're doing behind the scenes, and it really is incredible. And I really think the podcast
Last
can
3 months.
I think so needed. And I think that you have a really great idea of what you want to give back to the community. And I know that it's not like you're going to be getting, like you said, you're not going to be monetized for this or anything. This is coming out of your heart. And I think that we need, like, that's what we need in this community, is so many people have so much love, being able to give back to that community who like has helped us so much.
That's why I'm doing this, you know.
And I you and thank you for having me on and giving me this talk about myself.
I hope that we were able to help just a few people. And yeah, so do I want to say anything else? Nope, I think that's about it. So thank you so much again for coming on.